I do want to talk a little bit because the Bucks beat the Bulls and closed that series out last night. I do want to talk a little bit about Bucks Celtics. And let's start with, of course, the news that it's likely that Khris Middleton will miss the entire series. Shams announced this morning that he's got a grade 2 MCL sprain. So the Bucks will be without him. Of course, they were able to close the Bulls out without him over the last couple games. Just some general thoughts I have about the Bucks here. So Giannis obviously dominated, but he had a ton of offensive fouls in that Bulls series. And I think about all of the primary defenders that they will throw at Giannis. Horford, of course, will get a large part of that assignment. But I think a lot about the secondary defenders. Marcus Smart is great at taking charges, as is Al. So that's something to watch throughout the series. And to me, it's where those secondary defenders are going to be. Are they going to sort of use Tice or Horford or Robert Williams to come over at the rim, or are they going to be planted at the nail and really showing a crowd like they were against Kevin in the Boston series? And to me, the key for the Bucks, Giannis is going to figure out a way to get his numbers. The key for the Bucks for me is, can their shooters continue this torrid pace? Grayson shot 58% in round 1 from 3. Wes Matthews shot close to 48% in round 1. And of course, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, Brook Lopez, and to an extension, Jrue Holiday as well, who takes a pretty high volume of threes. So that's sort of what I'm looking at in this series, is how they guard Giannis with those secondary defenders, and then can the Bucks shooters make them pay, because they're going to be in a help position one way or another.
Who do you think the X factor is for the Celtics?
Well, the one guy I didn't mention when I talked about guarding Giannis, and I'm sure he's going to guard him a lot, is Grant Williams, who did as good of a job as you can do on Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant obviously scored some points against him, but his size, his lateral quickness, really impressive to see him guard the ball. He also shot 50% from 3
shot great
in round 1. I mean, literally, he looked like one of the greatest spot-up shooters ever in that series.
Yeah. Do you think that with either of these teams, there's going to be like a feeling out pattern? Do you think they know each other so well that we're gonna get sort of like we had in Game 1 of the Brooklyn-Boston series, where they're going to be going at it right away?
I think everyone in the basketball world is very excited about this series. I said this before Game 3 of the Boston-Brooklyn series when I did Countdown. That didn't feel like a first-round series. That very much felt like an Eastern Conference Finals series. This is I think the two best teams overall, Middleton's injury aside. I've talked about that a ton this year. Let's not overlook the Heat by any stretch. I think the Heat are very capable as well, and they obviously had the number 1 seed and are playing great basketball right now. But given what the Celtics have done since January 6th, when RJ Barrett hit a bank shot buzzer beater to beat them, since that point in time, I think they were 18-21. They've been as good as anyone in basketball. If you look at their offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating, all that stuff, Tatum's playing at an All-NBA MVP level. And then the Bucks, they were 35-10. I've said this so many times. They're 35-10 when those 3 guys play. Losing Middleton hurts. Can Brook Lopez sort of step into that role as the third option on offense? And he's had some big games, both at the end of the regular season and early in that first round against the Bulls. It's a fascinating series. It really is. And these teams obviously have a history with their core groups in the playoffs. Would
you throw Jrue onto Tatum for the most part?
Yeah, this is where I think losing Khris Middleton hurts, because Khris Middleton guards those type of players. The Bucks are a heavy drop coverage team, especially when Brook's in the lineup, and they obviously do that with Portis as well. But losing him hurts. We talked about this, Tommy, with Wes Matthews in that Bulls series. Like, he had some really, really solid defensive games guarding DeMar, and I think they'll probably have Wes on him. They'll have Jrue on him. Pat probably gets underrated a little bit defensively, and he'll come off the bench and he'll have to guard him. I remember when they would play the Raptors in the playoffs, Pat would sometimes guard Kawhi. Like, he would come in the game and actually guard Kawhi. So they still have enough wing defenders. But losing Middleton is a huge loss against a team like Boston with Jaylen Brown, with Tatum, Marcus Smart, of course, as well as a playmaker. But either way, I'm stoked for this series.